confused, everyone.
Let's get dangerous.
This is so cool.
I know.
It feels so right.
Jake Ciely.
I'm sorry, who is this?
Nice try, Moonman. Pretending not to know. Earth's greatest mastermind.
You just made the list!
I thought you said that was a myth.
Just because it's a myth doesn't mean it's not true.
If you all blindly follow my plan, we may have a chance.
Sure, we talk about it all the time.
Really?
No, burn.
Game on, you ducks. I had a couple questions after the last episode about strategies heading into the final draft weekend, and I thought instead of kind of saying, oh, I'm taking this person in round 1, this person in round 2, or definitely want this guy or don't want this guy, I'd kind of give you my early, mid, and late targets that I'm getting the most of. Obviously, at some point, everybody's draftable, except for Joe Mixon. And maybe stash them on your IR with your final pick. But these are the ones I've been getting the most of. These are the ones I'm looking to get the most of. And I figured I'd just do it that way. So hopefully this works for you guys and helps you kind of get a little cheat sheet for this weekend. So let's just go position by position. This doesn't obviously mean the first round because I'm starting with quarterbacks. And I don't really want to take any of these until the third round. Maybe the end of the second if you want to make sure you get your guy and you're in a 10-team league, because it's harder to get that edge in a 10-team league. But anyway, the obvious names are obvious, but more so than the other top-tier guys. I've been getting a lot of Jaden Daniels. I do think he has the upside to finish number 1 like Lamar Jackson. Jalen Hurts, just the disrespect. The touchdowns are going to come. And then in 6-point passing touchdown leagues, been getting some Joe Burrow. I'd rather get him in 4-point in kind of a 4th, maybe 5th round. But as a sidebar, real quick, with the 6-point passing touchdowns, it doesn't inflate the position. It just makes those quarterbacks like Burrow, Baker Mayfield, the high touchdown, Dak Prescott, low rushing upside quarterbacks. They get a boost, about a round boost. And the quarterbacks who run but don't throw a lot of touchdowns, Justin Fields, probably Drake May, a few others, they actually lose a round or so. And you can mess with the projections on that cheat sheet and you can kind of see how it affects the position. But again, it doesn't inflate all of the quarterbacks, just move some of them around. Some of my mid-round targets, as Justin Fields, why I said midfield. Still love some Justin Fields. Again, 1,000-yard potential rushing upside. Doesn't have to be a very good passer. Dak Prescott, I think, can bounce back if he's healthy. He didn't look great last year, but again, George Pickens is now his number 2. And then, of course, Drake May for the rushing upside. He can actually run 700-800 yards, and then he could just be Daniel Jones as a passer and have a QB1 finish. For running backs, the big names are obvious, but I keep saying I've been taking a lot of Christian McCaffrey in the middle of the first round. He's the only running back in the past 10 to 15 years, I forget the actual cutoff, but 25 fantasy points per game in half-point PPR. That's insane. And then he has another season of over 22 fantasy points per game. I understand the risk. You don't have to take him. I will if I'm in the middle of the first round. Kyron Williams, we were all scared that Sean McVay would turn away from him if he had a bad game or two, but Kyron Williams got the contract. What are we scared of now? Kyron Williams has been top 6 the past 2 years. I'm getting some Kyron Williams at the end of the first round. Josh Jacobs, the volume's going to be there again. All the guys behind him are so-so. It sounds like Chris Brooks is now the backup and not Emmanuel Wilson, and Marshawn Lloyd is hurt. And then, of course, Chase Brown. We got what we wanted last year, and we got what we wanted this offseason. Very little involvement for the threat of carries, so love some Chase Brown. In the early mids, James Cook, yes, the touchdown regression's coming, but he's still a really good high-end RB2, fringe RB1. Marion Hampton, I do think Najee Harris will be involved a little bit, but the talent gap from Genty to Hampton was not that big. Travion Henderson, you guys know I've talked about him this entire offseason. I'd still take him in the 4th round, but it's starting to push to the point where you're buying all the risk, and you know I hate buying all the risk. Somebody you're not buying all the risk with, Isaiah Pacheco. If he never played last year, he'd probably be drafted higher. Sounds like he's 100%. The burst looks like it's there in the preseason. I know there's not going to be a lot in the passing game, but he plays for the Chiefs, everybody. DeAndre Swift, very little competition they brought in. There actually is a teammate of his I'm going to talk about in a little bit. So I'm getting some DeAndre Swift. A little bit later, kind of the really mid rounds. Tyrone Tracy, although I wouldn't take Tracy if you're not in a trade-heavy league or a good trader, because I do think Scadaboo, who, by the way, the next tier down I think we'll start to cut in more and more as the season goes on, but I think Tracy can get off to a hot start and be a valuable trade chip. Jalen Warren, this is a muddy backfield right now, and it looks like Caleb Johnson's going to come along slowly, but Jalen Warren, similarly, in a hot start. Javonte Williams, everybody's hurt behind him. I still would take a flyer on Jaden Blue. If he's even 90% of what he used to be, and he gets 240 plus touches, Javonte Williams in the mid-rounds is a value. I do think J.K. Dobbins is another nice one that could either start hot or even split the entire season. Like, it's not that Alvin Kamara was ever getting 300 touches with the Saints under Sean Payton. So J.K. Dobbins is an RB3? Yeah, why not? And then, of course, Ollie Gordon, brought him up in the last episode. He should be going mid-late rounds. He should be going to like the 9th round, potentially even 8th at this point. 10th if you get lucky. It depends on who you're drafting with. Dylan Sampson, brought him up. Could be Austin Eckler type for the team for the entire year. Nick Chubb for the first few weeks if you need a fill-in. There's Austin Eckler. Talked about Blue and Scattaboo. And then the teammate of Swift, Kalaman guy, I think could be David Montgomery, but not David Montgomery. I don't think he's going to be an RB2, but he could be splitting work for the entire season. And then, of course, two of my favorite underrated backup running backs, DJ Giddens behind Jonathan Taylor, hurt each of the past 3 seasons, and Taj Brooks, who I think is a lot like Chase Brown if anything were to happen to Chase Brown. Wide receivers, the elites. I've been getting a ton of them on Ross St. Brown. I don't think he can finish number 1 in fantasy, but arguably the safest wide receiver outside of the huge names like Chase and Jefferson. Drake London, we saw the target share last year with Michael Penix. No, I don't think it's going to be 40% plus, but I love some Drake London. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Devontae Adams. Terry McLaurin, I think, is getting too much hate for his potential touchdown regression. I actually think it could be offset by even a few more targets or just being open and running free a little bit more. I have him inside right at like the top 15 range. And then DK Metcalf, the volume coming from Aaron Rodgers. I do like a teammate of Metcalf, but even if that team, I'll save it. But even if he does, Metcalf, 130, 40, 50, maybe 160 targets. I know it's not a pass-happy team, but who else is Aaron Rodgers throwing to? Anyway, moving on. Tedero McMillan, I think, is getting overrated depending on what draft you're in. But as in mid-low wide receiver 2 with the ceiling for more, should walk into a Malik Neighbors potential situation, but 130, 140 targets at minimum. My only concern is as much as I like Bryce Young, he's another late flyer I would take in deeper leagues at quarterback, by the way. As much as I like Bryce, he's good in the intermediate area. Actually, if you told me Cam Ward was the quarterback and we had seen Cam do what Bryce has done, the more aggressive downfield thrower, that being Cam Ward. Oh, you know what? I have to go back to quarterbacks. Hold on, pause there, and we'll come back to it anyway. I would be a little more excited. I just think that the touchdown and ADOT might hurt McMillan just a little bit. Real quick, back to quarterbacks. I forgot about the late rounds. Trying to get this out for you guys and forgot about it. Brock Purdy is falling to the late rounds in a lot of my drafts. I don't know if that'll happen in your home league, but I don't understand it. CJ Stroud, similar to Dak Prescott, for a bounce back, a lot being on his arm. Jordan Love was hurt since like week 2 of last season. I think he's due for, well, not due, but he's in store for a bounce back. Trevor Lawrence, this is it. Either you're a bust or you're that potential generational talent that we thought he could be. And hopefully Liam Cohen can fix him. And there's Cam Ward and deeper leagues if you're taking another shot at quarterback. The arm is there. Very much a Dak Prescott fantasy profile. I don't think he's Dak Prescott, but you get my point in potential 4,000 plus yards, touchdowns, and then 400 on the ground with 3 or 4 rushing touchdowns. It could happen. All right, let's get back to running back. Sorry about that. Oh, no, wait. I already talked about running back. Let's get back to wide receiver. I'm all over the place. I love you guys. Anyway, mid-round picks, early mid-round picks with Tedero and McMillan. Calvin Ridley, I've talked about him a ton. I have him everywhere as a wide receiver 3, and I think he's going to be a wide receiver 2. Similarly, Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver 3. I think he'll be a wide receiver 2. I think when Ayuk comes back, he's taking Jennings' job, not Pearsall's. Xavier Worthy, he's got 6 games with no Rashee Rice. He had games at the end of last year, which is exactly what Rashee Rice did at the end of his rookie season. And if this is a 1A, 1B situation, I would not be surprised when Rashee Rice comes back. Xavier Worthy can carry value even after Rice is back on this team. Rome Odunze, breakout's coming this year. If he doesn't, I'm going to get hit in a lot of places. I believe in the talent. I believe in the struggles that he had as a rookie, but I'm buying back in. I wouldn't be shocked. I would be surprised. I got it right that time. I wouldn't be shocked if he had more fantasy points than DJ Moore this year. Mid rounds, Chris Olave, yes, the concussions are worrisome, but he's running a lot more out of the slot where he's been more productive, and the volume would be there even from Rattler and Shook. Matthew Golden, the number one for the Packers. I've talked about him a lot, but Deebo Samuel and Cooper Kupp as in late career bounce backs, I'm taking flyers on them because of the discount. You're getting them as wide receiver 4s. Deeper down, hey, look, Josh Downs. And yes, when they turn to Anthony Richardson, I do think that'll hurt Downs a little bit. I think he can work with Anthony Richardson. I've brought that up in years past. Well, just basically last year. But I do think it's a little bit of a downgrade versus what Daniel Jones will be doing. Marvin Mims and Cedric Tillman, talked about in the last podcast, wide receiver 4s with weekly top 20 upside. Love them on my teams. Joshua Palmer, I wouldn't be shocked if Keenan Coleman doesn't take a step forward, and Joshua Palmer is a top 2 option with Khalil Shakir. He's going to help a lot of leagues and a lot of teams. Jaden Higgins, sounds like he might take a few weeks to have that number 2 role, despite 3 weeks ago he had the role. They fully guaranteed his second round contract. I love some Jaden Higgins, but be patient if it doesn't click right out of the gate. And then late, Isaac Tesla and Roman Wilson were in the Free Guys piece, talked about him in the last podcast. So let's talk about the Panthers. Xavier Legette is going to be playing outside. Jalen Coker taking the Adam Thielen role. I like Coker too. It's just understand that it would have to be that Thielen role and staying out there for 2 wide sets to really maintain value. So we're going to have to watch. That's why I would stash both late Coker and Legette where you can on different teams, or if you want to take both and see which one works out. Similarly, I brought up Alec Ayumanor, and I think there's a lot of upside for him with the Titans. But if it doesn't click and Tyler Lockett gets a little bit of a resurgence and keeps the number 2 role for the entire season with Cam Ward, there's another team similar to the Panthers, where take flyers on them the 14th, 15th rounds. See which one maintains value for the year. And tight ends, Kittle. All the Kittle in the world. He has the same potential value as McBride and Brock Bowers, but he comes at a round or even 2 round discount, and that's why I love it. If I do dabble in mid-rounds with tight ends, usually similar to the quarterback, I'm first or last, Ricky Bobby. I want elite, or I'm waiting until the end game and double dipping, more double dipping at quarterback, but maybe even tight end. But if the value happens to fall, Travis Kelce, especially with Rashee Rice suspended, could get that decent bounce back start to start the year. That was a lot of starts in there. David Njoku with Joe Flacco. Brought it up in the last podcast. Joe Flacco, 4,400 plus yards over his last 17 starts. Love some Njoku, at least while Flacco's at the quarterback position. Mark Andrews, that touchdown regression was probably coming. Hey, there's a third one on this list, but a third one because everybody keeps talking about it. And Isaiah Likely is hurt to start the season. And if you get deeper, Tyler Warren, yes. Tyler Warren with Daniel Jones, I think, can actually be a tight end 1 out of the gate. Kyle Pitts, I know, do not turn off the podcast, but he's free now. Although I will say, late news today as I'm recording this, Darnell Mooney is practicing, ? Raheem Morris said we hope to see him this season 2 weeks ago, and now all of a sudden he's practicing. So if Mooney is out there, it obviously hurts the potential for Kyle Pitts. But either way, he's free. Again, maybe Kyle Pitts finally has a season similar to his rookie year. Mason Taylor can be the number 2 for the Jets. Darren Waller, maybe there's something left in the tank. Take a flyer. It's the Dolphins offense. It's in super lates, probably only deep leagues, but Jatavian Sanders to go back to the Panthers if he's the number 2 or 3 option, and then Theo Johnson for the Giants, who was Tyler Warren before Tyler Warren was Tyler Warren. And I do think Warren is the better tight end than Theo Johnson, but not to the degree that everybody makes it out to be. Theo Johnson, if you put him with the Colts in the Warren situation, I think would be in the conversation as a top 15 tight end. It just happens to be he's on the Giants. But Theo Johnson and Jatavian Sanders are the super free late ones. The 49ers are one of my favorite streaming defenses to start the year. I will have more streaming defenses in the waiver article over at The Athletic. And oh yeah, the 2 Madden winners. I have a PS5 code and an Xbox code. Hopefully you guys have one or the other and you guys don't overlap. But anyway, the announced winners, and if you do, I'll see if I can figure out a way to get 2 codes for the same one. But anyway, Brendan Cassidy, I won't give out your Twitter handle because I don't want people randomly chasing you and saying, give it to me. And then Eric with a K, your Twitter handle does have alien in it. I will say that. Those are the 2 winners for the Madden codes. I will give out 2 more codes. I will be getting those, but I have to wait to see, do I need another another Xbox or 2 PS5s, whatever it might be. So next week, first week of the season, I will tell you the same thing. Please help the podcast, which, by the way, kudos to you guys. Thank you so much. The podcast has already taken a big step forward. It's about 50% of where it used to be. So we're halfway there. I love you guys. Appreciate it. And not only we're halfway there, we are there. We are back next week, week 1, fantasy football season. It's here. Takeaways, waivers, ranks, fun. We're back, baby. I don't know what that was.